Right, let's get started. So thank you all today for joining us for our Future of Hearing Benefits webinar sponsored by Tuned. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. All right, so we have some exciting upcoming events coming up. So next week on Thursday, we have our HR Persuasions Playbook, getting leadership in on your 2026 HR technology upgrades. This is going to help have select software, help turn your 2026 health tech vision into an organizational priority. We also have two exciting events coming up the following Thursday on the 12th. Our February chapter meeting, which is in sponsorship with The Table, which is a Nashville organization dedicated to fostering meaningful conversations around race, diversity, and inclusion. That'll be downtown, and you're still able to register for that now. And lastly, our MT Sherm membership program has rescheduled their event from this week to next Thursday, the 12th. And it'll be about compensation in the AI world. So, kind of navigating how AI is affecting our hiring process and how to navigate today's job market with an AI. And as mentioned today, you will be earning SHRM and HCRI credits. You should be seeing an email by the end of this week with your credits or within the beginning of next week. If you don't see that, please reach out to us at admin@mtSHRM.org. And last but not least, I would love to welcome our speaker, Danny Aaronson. He's the CEO and co-founder of Tuned, the first hearing care benefit designed to make comprehensive hearing health as accessible as dental and vision coverage. A lifelong sound professional turned health tech entrepreneur, he founded Tuned after experiencing firsthand how fragmented and inequitable the hearing care system can be, driving his mission to give ears a voice in healthcare through preventative virtual audiology. With over 2 years as the intersection of sound, 2 decades, sorry, 2 decades, not 2 years, as the intersection of sound, technology, and human experience, Danny now leads multidisciplinary teams advancing hearing care as a mainstream employee health benefit. So I will stop sharing my screen, and we will turn this over to Danny.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. Just let me know if you can see my screen now.
Everything looks great.
Great. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share what Tunes is doing with this group of people. My intention is to share a deck with you and give you an overview of kind of the current state of hearing health as an employee benefit. What are the challenges that we're looking at? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And then kind of give you a taste of what the new wave of kind of hearing benefit providers, such as Tuned, is offering the market. And then I'd love to open it up for discussion and feedback and hear your thoughts of where you think this could be relevant or interesting to your members and to people that you work with. As mentioned, I've been in this industry for many, many years now. I also am a veteran, and like many other veterans, I have hearing loss and tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. I'm sure if you know any veterans, it is very, very common. And this is kind of what got me into this business about 15 years ago. And with that, we'll just start. So, talk a lot about hearing today. Let me close this. Great. So, Tuned is the largest online audiology network in the United States, and we are the leader in what we call comprehensive hearing health benefits. And by the end of this presentation, I hope you'll have a better understanding of what I mean by comprehensive hearing health benefits. We have over 300 audiologists in all 50 states, and we've been around since 2020. We are a venture-backed company with significant investment. We serve over 120,000 members and work with over 260 companies. The problem we are solving, and a lot of this information I hope will be refreshing and new to you because it typically is, and people are typically surprised. Hearing is the most common sensory problem in the United States. And surprisingly to most people, yes, it is more common than vision, significantly, almost by a factor of 2. There are about 50 million people in the US who suffer from hearing issues. Notice that I say hearing issues and not hearing loss. Hearing loss, and specifically severe hearing loss, which can be help with hearing aids, is a relatively small subsection of the entire hearing issue world. There's a lot more than just severe hearing loss. And when you look at it that way, it's about 50 million people who have hearing issues. And again, surprisingly to most people, 60% are in the workforce, so between the ages of 18 to 65. When I typically talk to people about hearing, they immediately assume old people, they immediately assume golf-sized hearing aids. Nothing could be farther from the truth. It is a much more widespread, and it affects more people of working age than it affects people who are over the age of 65. About 25% of the population suffer from tinnitus, which is, as I said, this type of ringing in the ear. I'm sure the people on this call have know somebody or have met somebody who has tinnitus. It is very, very common. And about 90% of people who have tinnitus also have hearing loss. It is the third most common chronic physical condition. And hearing loss, even mild or moderate hearing loss, makes it 5 times more likely to have a slip and fall. Your entire balance mechanism of your body is in your inner ear. If you even have mild or moderate hearing loss, you are 5 times more likely to have a slip and fall. This is obviously very, very relevant to companies that work in manufacturing, transportation, construction, these types of things, or noisy environments where the risk of slip and fall and the cost of a slip and fall is significant. And adding a benefit that actually looks at balance issues or what we call vestibular issues can be very effective. Um, about 60% of employees also identify as caregivers. What that means is that over half of us have an aging parent that we take care of. Again, I'm sure that's something that a lot of people can relate to. My mom is 89 years old. She was a elementary school teacher for 40 years. She has pretty severe hearing loss. By the way, just as an anecdote, teachers are 4 times as likely to have hearing loss than other professions because they basically work in the noise equivalent of an airport. Think how noisy a school is. And teachers who work their entire career in a school typically have very high degrees of hearing loss. So a lot of us are actually taking care of aging parents, and 2 out of 3 people over the age of 70 have hearing issues. And very few of them actually do anything about it. So that is also part of like the sandwich generation issue that we're dealing with. And Tuned is also addressing that. So I'll share more information about that. And the current state that we have today, if people are familiar with companies like True Hearing, Epic Hearing, these types of like what we call legacy hearing, quote unquote, benefits, they're basically hearing aid coupons. They do nothing else other than hearing aid coupons. They may cover up to 20% of a typically $6,000 to $8,000 device. So that's the average cost of hearing aids today, between $6,000 to $8,000 for a pair of hearing aids. They might cover maybe 20%. The rest is out of pocket for the member. Insurance typically doesn't cover this for people over the age of 18. And all of these companies are owned by the hearing aid manufacturers themselves. So you basically have a manufacturer giving you a 20% discount on their own device, and that's the only thing they deal with. There is nothing currently in current plans for prevention of hearing loss. There's nothing for what most people have, which, like me, which is mild to moderate hearing loss, nothing for tinnitus, nothing for balance, and we have prohibitive out-of-pocket costs for prescription devices. Just to give you a sense of how underserved this is, 71% of employees have access to dental, 63% of employees have access to vision. Get this, 51% of employees have access to pet insurance. Less than 11% of employees have access to any kind of hearing benefits. Literally, there are more dogs in this country who have access to healthcare than employees who have access to any type of hearing benefit. And that is it needs to be corrected, which is why we started Tuned. So what is Tuned? So Tuned is a full spectrum virtual hearing benefit. We're a telehealth company, and we deal with prevention of hearing loss care, tinnitus support, balance solutions, and everything is done through telehealth. And I'll kind of explain exactly how that works. So the Tuned telehealth platform knows to do three things: screenings, consultations, and solutions. And I'll walk you through each and every one of these features. Welcome to 21st century audiology. You don't need to physically go to a clinic to get your hearing assessed or screened. You can do it online at home with whatever headphones or AirPods or earbuds that you have. You sign up to the or your employer signs you up to the program. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. You'll do two different types of hearing screenings. One is called digits and noise, so we're trying to understand how you hear in a noisy environment. The other one is a pure tone screener, which is kind of if you've ever done an audiogram, like you hear beeps and you raise your hand type of thing to understand your hearing. And then you will answer a very comprehensive questionnaire, again, looking at tinnitus and balance issues and any other hearing issues that you might have. And that takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And what we want people to do is do this every year, just like you go to the dentist every year, just like you get your eyes checked every year, get your hearing checked every single year. Let's prevent hearing loss if there's any type of issue or deal with it if it's already occurring. So that's a screening part of it. Again, everything is done online. After that, you have the ability to have a consultation with a doctor of audiology. A doctor of audiology is a specialist who specializes in hearing. So an ENT deals with the physical ear. A doctor of audiology is a hearing specialist. Based on the results of the screening, the consultation with the doctor of audiology will review the results of the hearing screening. If everything's fine and your hearing's within normal and there are no other issues, great. See you next year, just like a good checkup at a dentist. If there is an issue, the doctor will work with you, and after assessing kind of the issues, offer solutions. And what you'll see here, and we'll talk about the solutions that we offer. Hearing aids are one small factor of that. There are many, many other issues that we can deal with and many other solutions that we can offer. And I'll give you an example. I don't know if you've heard about this, but the FDA in 2022, after a long battle with the hearing aid companies, approved what we call over-the-counter hearing devices. These are devices which are specifically tailored to people who have mild to moderate hearing loss. So they don't have severe hearing loss, but mild to moderate hearing loss, which is the vast majority of people with hearing loss. And you don't need a clinical hearing test to get them. They're not prescription hearing aids. That's the difference. With prescription hearing aids, you need a clinical audiogram to be able to get the prescription. With these, you can just literally go and purchase them. We work with some of the leading companies in this field, like Jabra and Zep. We do a lot of AirPods Pro 2 and 3 programming. Again, I don't know if you're aware, but the AirPods Pro 2, which is what I'm using right now, are FDA approved over-the-counter hearing aids. They give you a hearing test, which you can do on your iPhone. And then they adapt sound to the way that you hear. You can also use them on Zoom calls like we're doing right now, but I also use them when I'm going out or when I'm talking to people or even in a restaurant. You put them on noise canceling mode. It drowns out the noise around you and they focus on the person you're speaking with. They are incredibly effective. With a tuned audiologist, you could get a letter of medical necessity that the member could use to pay for a pair of AirPods with their HSA or FSA funds, for example. Again, because they're FDA approved over-the-counter hearing devices. One of the devices that we are very excited about and are already seeing incredible enthusiasm to, I think we've dispensed like 12 of these in the past week, are Nuance Audio hearing glasses. Yes, you've heard correctly. These are hearing glasses. If you see on the front, you see these two little circles. These are actually microphones. The side of the glasses is full of technology, and they have little speakers on the back. And they are designed for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. I use them all the time. They are incredibly effective. They again have a noise canceling part, so they reduce the noise around you. And because the microphones are here, they basically pick up the person you're talking to. So if you move your head, the microphones will focus on the person that you're talking to. These are manufactured by Luxottica, which is the largest manufacturer of eyeglasses in the world. They own 80% of the global eyeglass market. They work exclusively with tuned. and we provide these as an over-the-counter hearing device. You can also get prescription lenses with these glasses. They're an incredible product, and their MSRP is about $1,200 through Tune. They're about half that, so a couple $100. Compare that to the $6, $7, $8,000 for traditional hearing aids. And what we've seen with a lot of people is, I'm not ready for a hearing aid, or I don't want a hearing aid, or I don't want to stick anything in my ear. But when you put this in front of me, which is it looks like glasses, and nobody even knows that you have any type of hearing assistance, it is a game changer. And these are incredible devices, and there are new devices coming out this year. So we are very, very excited about this particular over-the-counter device. We work with companies like Auto and Neuromonics who help people with tinnitus. If you know anybody with tinnitus, or if you're experiencing it yourself, it is incredibly distracting. It's like a beeping or a buzzing noise in your ears. It sometimes affects people's sleep, certainly affects their kind of work experience. A lot of times people will just go to an ENT, and the ENT will say, listen, suck it up. There's nothing we can do. Again, nothing could be farther from the truth. Um, there are behavioral apps that we can use, and we have specialists who deal specifically with tinnitus, and there's a lot that we can do to help with that. So that's also part of kind of the program. We offer a lot of hearing protection. Over 50% of people who go through the Tune program will get hearing protection, whether these are earplugs, and we work with some of the leading companies like Etymotic, or ear muffs like the VeriShield that you see here in this picture. This is not just about if you work in a manufacturing environment. This is for people who, have noisy hobbies, who hunt, who listen to music, who go to a lot of concerts. Doesn't matter. Any exposure to loud noise over time will result in hearing loss, and wearing hearing protection is becoming a lot more common, is very important. So that's also included in the program, all the way up to and including modern prescription hearing aids for moderate to severe hearing loss. This is about 5% of people who have hearing issues. We work with all of the leading manufacturers like Widex, Insignia, and Phonak and Starkey. As you can see, just from the design of these devices, these are not the golf ball type of things that people used to, dislike. These are typically very discreet devices. They're incredibly effective. The vast majority of them in this day and age connect to Bluetooth, so you can take your calls with them, use them with your phone, listen to music with them, and so on and so forth. So they're not just for casual listening. And let's talk about pricing. And when I talk about pricing, again, just to give you a sense, keep in mind the average cost of a dental program, which is probably, let's say, on average about $40 a month, or vision, which is between $10 to $15 a month. This is the pricing for Tuned. So Tuned has 3 tiers, and we call them mono, stereo, and surround. Mono is our voluntary benefit. It's $12 a year, or $1 PEPM. And what it gives the member is the ability to do a hearing screening online, as I described. It gives the member insights on their hearing, and it gives them a discount on solutions for booking consultations with an audiologist, for example, online. Typical cost of that is $250. With Tuned, it's $100. And they get significant discounts on devices. The average cost of the hearing aid through this program with Tuned is $2,450, which is less than half of the typical cost of a hearing aid. Critical with this program, and something we are super excited and seeing a ton of pickup from members, you can add your parents as an employee. Because this is defined as a wellness program and not as an insurance program, you can add your parents, and people are doing this in droves, which basically means I, as an employee, can now add my parent. My parent will go through this program, and they have access to the hearing classes. They have access to over-the-counter devices. They have access to discounts on hearing aids, and that is a very significant benefit for an employee. And then we have 2 types of employer-paid benefits. The first one is what we call stereo. With stereo, again, they have unlimited hearing screenings. What is included in the cost is one annual consultation with a doctor of audiology. And then they have discounts on hearing protection, prescription hearing aids, over-the-counter devices, tinnitus apps, and so on. And our most comprehensive program, which is called Surround, again, which is employer paid. Again, this is $18 a year, so it's $1.50 PEPM. It is unlimited hearing screenings and up to and includes 3 annual consultations with a doctor of audiology. And crucially, it includes the full cost of prescription hearing aids, hearing protection, over-the-counter devices, and or tinnitus apps. There are no out-of-pocket expenses for the devices. The only expense the member will need to pay is, as I mentioned, for prescription hearing aids, we need what we call an audiogram, which is a clinical hearing test that you need to get at an ENT or your PCP or an audiology clinic. It takes about 20 minutes. Typical copay for that is about $25. And that's just what's needed for a typical prescription hearing aid. And just to kind of summarize that, 3 programs: voluntary benefit, mono, $12 a year, not discounted audiology consults, discounts on hearing devices, add your parents, and then stereo and surround, which are employer paid, with surround being kind of the most comprehensive benefit. So to conclude, hearing is incredibly pervasive. Hearing issues are incredibly pervasive. They have been marginalized and underserved historically. One of the reasons for that is the dominance of the hearing aid manufacturers in this area. I always give this as an example. Imagine if cardiovascular was owned by stent manufacturers, and anything that didn't have to do with having a stent would be irrelevant. That's hearing. It's all owned by the hearing aid manufacturers, and they don't care about prevention, and they don't care about mild to moderate, and they don't care about tinnitus, and they don't care about balance. The only thing they care about is selling hearing aids. So that's kind of the change that companies like Tuned are bringing to the market. We need what we call whole head health, dental, vision, and hearing. There's absolutely no reason why you have dental and you have vision, but you don't have hearing, which is, our ability to communicate. And Tuned is providing that in a very, very affordable way, as you saw. It's very accessible. Just again, to give you a statistic, about 60% of counties in the US don't have any audiology clinics at all. They might have hearing aid dispensers, but they don't have audiology clinics. So doing this online makes a ton of sense. And we make it very easy for employers to add this as a standard benefit, even in an economic environment where employers are very wary of rising costs. You're talking about a voluntary benefit, which is $1 a month or $12 a year, or the most comprehensive benefit, which is Surround at $18 a year. So I know it's a ton of information. A lot of it, I assume, is new. So I'll pause here for a second and would love to hear your feedback and answer any questions you might have.
I do have a question, Danny.
Sure.
I'm in the mining industry and we do annual hearing testing once a year. So I guess my question is, but we don't provide any benefit for hearing. So we slap them with a test result and we say, here's your test result and you
And
need.
good luck with that.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
my question, I guess, is if we were to go with Tuned, is there any advantage to us as a company still doing that testing ourselves, or would that be, with Tuned, is that something that you're bought into the whole package? I guess what I'm saying.
It's a great question. Great question. And we actually have quite a few companies in manufacturing and construction and who are under what you just described, which is basically OSHA. So OSHA necessitates companies, and mining is a great category for that, or a very relevant category for that, which are high noise categories. And you need to do an OSHA testing once a year. And the goal there is to determine whether or not there are any, the hearing protection program that the company has is efficient, and whether or not there's any hearing loss for the members due to the work environment. The problem with OSHA, just like you said, is you do the testing once a year, you give them a piece of paper, and it just says John Smith has moderate hearing loss. Okay, and what does he do? Nothing. And so it's not an efficient way. So what we're seeing quite a few manufacturing and construction companies, for example, do with us is they say, okay, great, we'll have the OSHA thing, but we're also adding Tuned so that if somebody has an issue, they can work with Tuned and get a prescription device or get more hearing protection or get an over-the-counter device, whatever the case may be. So I would think of it, Jennifer, as kind of like a supplement or a supplemental benefit to OSHA testing, because again, OSHA is just testing. It doesn't provide any benefit.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. I did that good of a job that there are no questions? Wow.
Feel free to raise your hand, or we also have the chat as well if you want to drop any questions in there.
Well,
Yes. Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sorry,
provide.
that was me again. Just wondering where we could find your information. I'm sure you'll provide that.
Yeah, as a follow-up to this, both in terms of the presentation I just shared and all the information you need to reach out to us.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll be providing that information as well. And we'll also, in our post-event survey, if you have any other questions for Danny or if you want to learn more about Tuned, we're going to have a question in there that you can click yes to. I do see we did get another question in the chat. Donna asks, will we get the presentation or some other ways to know who to reach out to as we assess our benefits offerings for 2027?
Yes. So we'll share the presentation through you and all the relevant information and the outreach is there.
I did have a question for you, Danny.
Sure.
How many companies how many companies is Tuned currently working with in the Middle Tennessee area?
Oh, in the Middle Tennessee area, I don't know out of the top of my head, but overall, we work with over 260 companies. We have relatively small companies with 40, 50 employees, and I think our largest company is about 11,000. So we cover a very wide range of companies. We also work with, as I said, high noise environments like manufacturing, construction, mining, so on and so forth, but also a lot of insurance companies and sales organizations where people use headphones. One of the biggest issues that we're seeing is that about 60 million Americans between the ages of 12 to 35 are at risk of having severe noise-induced hearing loss because they use headphones all the time. Just stop for a second and think about yourself, your spouse, your family members, people you know. How many hours a day do you think they use headphones? The CDC recommends 1 hour a day at 60% volume. Absolutely no one does that. The average American uses headphones for 5 hours a day. That's 3,000 hours a year. So we have an entire generation, which we call the headphone generation. I have my 17-year-old daughter. I think it's like welded into her ears. The AirPods, and they are at risk of severe noise-induced hearing loss because our ears were not designed to have a tiny speaker stuck into them for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, every single day. And what happens is, we typically have a hearing test maybe when we're in middle school, maybe not everyone, but some people. And then you have your next hearing test when you're 75 and you need prescription hearing aids and nothing in between. That just makes no sense. Is there a hybrid program where the ER can pay for the employee, but if the employee wants to add family members, they would absorb the cost? 100%. Donna, and we do that. We do that quite a lot. Actually, we just did it this week. Relatively large organization, about 1,600 employees. They purchased Surround, so the $18 a year per member program for their entire employee population. And they are offering the employees the ability to add whatever family members they want through the Mono program, where the employee pays $12 a year for each family member. And we're seeing great uptick with that. So yes, it's becoming much more common. Sure.
All right. Are there any other questions in the chat or otherwise? I think we just got one that came through. Perfect. Do all of the devices rely on Bluetooth technology? There are some growing concerns about the effects of frequencies near the brain over extended periods of time, and that came from Stacy.
Yeah, you're raising a really important and interesting question, Stacy. The jury's still out on the effects of Bluetooth. Again, it goes to my point. People are using this 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, stuck to their ears, and everybody's using Bluetooth. It depends what type of device you're talking about. Obviously, protection has nothing to do with Bluetooth. Um, Hearing devices, especially hearing aids, it depends how you want to use them. You can use hearing aids without using Bluetooth at all. So you just turn them on and they're helping you listen to your environment or amplify sounds in your environment. The reason a lot of these devices now add Bluetooth is because there is a demand from the public to be able to use them with phones and to use them to answer the phone and use them to listen to things on smartphones and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the reason they use Bluetooth, but it's an optional feature of typical hearing aids. They don't need Bluetooth to work. If that makes sense, Stacy. You can use them if you want to use them with your phone, but you don't need to use them to work as hearing amplifiers. Sure. And with the hearing glasses, there's no Bluetooth at all. It's just microphones.
All right, we're going to do a last call for questions. So if you want to jump off mute or go in right as I ask, we got some more coming in. All right, do the glasses help if someone is on a conference call? And that comes from Donna.
It depends. Again, typically the use case for the glasses, I would say, is for somebody with mild to moderate hearing loss who is not ready for a hearing aid and is looking for something to help in a noisy environment. That's kind of the use case, and that's very common. If you're on a conference call and you're not using headphones, and you're using you're using your computer speakers, then yes, because it would pick up the sound that's coming from the speakers and amplify it, so it would be easier for you to hear. And nobody would know again that you're using any type of assisted hearing. So that use case could be relevant. One of the things that we're looking forward to in 2026 is a version of these where they will have Bluetooth connectivity. So just like AirPods or just like other devices, they would connect via Bluetooth to your computer, and you'd be able to hear better using the glasses. So kind of a mixed answer there, Donna. I hope that was helpful. I think again, before we leave, just to sum this up to you, a lot of employers, or most employers that you will talk to, nobody has ever pitched hearing health to them ever. Vision is very common. Obviously, dental is very common. All of these are very common, but nobody's ever kind of talked to them about the importance of hearing. Hearing is just our ability to communicate. If you've met, or and I'm sure you have, somebody who has any kind of hearing issue, it just makes communication that much more difficult. It is massively underserved. Nobody does anything for hearing, almost. It's not covered by insurance. It's a massive issue for the sandwich generation who have parents they need to deal with who have this issue, and for people themselves. And what Tuned is actually bringing to the market is something which is very, very easy to implement and very affordable. And there is a lot that we can do to help, Donna, by the way. So, and as you can see. So that's a great question. No, they don't. First of all, so I'll give you it's a couple of things. The Nuance glasses are made by Luxottica. Luxottica, again, I don't know if you've heard the name, but Luxottica owns 80% of the eyeglass market. So they have about 3,000 retail, brick and mortar retail stores in the US. You can basically take the glasses and go wherever you want and use whatever vision benefit you have and get your lenses through that. You don't need to go through the Nuance or any manufacturer or anything like that. So you would basically get the glasses, the hearing glasses. They come with basic lenses. I think they're like UV or something like that. And then you would just go to any optometrist and use whatever you have, whether you have a vision benefit or HSA or FSA, and get your lenses for the glasses. Stacy, does that answer your question? Sure. I think again, when you're pitching this to, or if you share this with employers, they're typically like, yeah, but I'm the hearing aids, and it's not about hearing aids. It's about the ability to hear better. Glasses are a great opportunity. The AirPods, the over-the-counter devices, tinnitus is a huge issue. Balance issues. Listen, we're just now kind of working with a couple of companies in the manufacturing category. Slip and falls are about 23% of all workplace injuries. People who have even mild to moderate hearing loss are 5 times more likely to have a slip and fall. The average slip and fall claim is $50,000. Anything you can do to mitigate that is substantial for an employer. And again, Tune is very affordable. So we're seeing a lot of interest there too, just so you know. And if you have one last thing I'll say, if you have an aging parent or a parent who has hearing issues, but they're deflecting, they refuse to admit that they have a hearing issue, everybody's mumbling, all that, I'm sure you've heard these excuses in the past. One of the things that I found extremely valuable or convincing to them is talking about the connection between hearing loss and slip and falls. We found that is very effective in getting people to take action, because especially older people understand that a significant slip and fall will severely curtail their independence. And maybe they're not ready for a pair of hearing aids, but maybe they are ready for something like hearing glasses, or maybe they are ready for something like an over-the-counter device. So just a little tip there when dealing with family members with hearing issues.
All right, we want to thank Danny today for his time and to learn everything about Tuned. A reminder, you will be getting a survey after this webinar concludes today from Zoomed. That'll just be about the presentation, how you felt, and if you want to learn anything else from Tuned. We also had that question in registration as well. You will also be getting your HCRI and SHRM credits, usually probably either the end of this week or early next week. And if you don't hear from us, just reach out to us at admin@mtshrum.com. So thank you all today, and please stay safe and warm.
Thank you, everyone. Great seeing you. Bye.